It's official. They're bad hombres. Yeah, I like this picture they used for the Mexican president. Whew. Whew. Them tamales. The bad hombres providing them tamales. Whew. The Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, issues new statement on Trump designating cartels as terrorist organizations. This is by the Daily Wire, obviously. You can get this anywhere. This is same article everywhere you go. But it's just, I like this one because obviously Daily Wire does their homework and it lists so you guys know what this actually means for the cartels in particular. And in this article, it just says cartels. I'm going to try and find out more information. If anybody knows, let me know. I assume, obviously Trump hasn't put this out, but I assume they're going to have to name the cartels. 'Cause obviously there's, there's a ton of cartels. There's your main ones. There's 3, 4, 5 really, really big ones, but there's multiple. So we'll see what Trump does with this, if this actually ends up going through the process and naming them terrorist organizations, which I think is a good step. As well as legalizing marijuana would go a long way to helping fix the problem that we have with the cartels. But let me go ahead and read some of this and we'll talk about it. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador issued a new statement on Wednesday in response to Donald Trump, saying that the White House intends to designate Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Lopez said that he rejects intervention by the United States in Mexico. He's a far left populist, they say, made the remarks in response to comments by Trump yesterday in an interview with Bill O'Reilly. I didn't even know Bill O'Reilly was still around. They're dragging that old corpse around, the old anti. I remember he's still one of those guys that are just like, the weed will give you it'll make you go mad. Reefer madness. He's that kind of conservative. God, I hate Bill O'Reilly so much. Cooperation, yes. Interventionism, no, Lopez said when asked about the reporters about Trump's remarks. In his interview with Trump, O'Reilly said, "One of the things you said to me is that another country murdered 100,000 Americans with guns, we would go to war with that country. Yet Mexican drug cartels kill more than 100,000 a year by importation of dangerous narcotics. Are you going to designate those cartels in Mexico as terror groups and start hitting them with drones and things like that?" O'Reilly asked. "I don't want to say what I'm going to do, but they will be designated," Trump answered. "I've already offered Mexico to let us go in and clean out." He so far has rejected the offer, but at some point, something has to be done. Look, we're losing 100,000 a year, is what he's saying, and what's coming through on Mexico, and what is coming. Wait, what? Look, we are losing 100,000 people a year to what is happening and what is coming through on Mexico. I guess he means the drugs. That was a weirdly said sentence by Trump there. I think it's a good idea because of what we'll get into later, that we recognize them as terror groups because they are. If cutting off hundreds of people's heads and putting them on the border doesn't scream terrorist group, I don't know what does. And basically taking over lower level government to higher level government, police organizations, even American border towns. Like, if that doesn't tell you anything about these people, I don't know what will. What this actually means in terms of, like they said, drone strikes, boots on the ground, probably not much. Maybe when they cross our borders, we can do more stuff with. Maybe this makes a smoother process to use drones, because then all of a sudden, if you label them as terrorists and they've got American cartel members or legal immigrants to America who are part of the cartels on the border, all of a sudden we can go full drone Obama style on them, which I don't agree with, and I hope that's not the answer. But that maybe wherever they're going with this, all of a sudden we can start open fire on the border to people who come in illegally, who are designated as part of these cartels and stuff like that, which I hope is not where it goes. But on top of, if Mexico lets us come in and do things with them, it helps smooth over the process. But we'll see what exactly ends up happening. Apparently Trump is working on it the past 90 days. Trump remarks come after 9 Americans were killed in Mexico. Yep, we know that last month. This is time for Mexico with help. He says he's going to wage war on them. Trump tweeted on November 5th in response to the tragedy. We merely waited a call from the new Mexican president. After Trump made the announcement yesterday, Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Relations said in a statement, by virtue of good relations that exist between the two countries, the government of Mexico will seek to have a high-level meeting as soon as possible with the president of Mexico to present Mexico's position, and to know the views of the United States authorities. So obviously that'll work out. This isn't something that has happened yet, so I assume they're going to work it out with them. And I guess a lot of it will probably hinge on what happens in this meeting. If Mexico is down with a lot of stuff that Trump and his advisors end up saying, then maybe that'll hinge on whether they end up getting designated as a terrorist organization. Let's see. It says, I don't think they would want to open up the possibility of Mexico invoking some legal principles and go and far as naming certain groups terrorist organizations, like gangs, I guess, on our side. Designating an entity as a foreign terrorist organization, which is done by the State Department, provides the United States with additional tools to combat whatever entity that might be designated to, including, and this is the stuff that matters. It is unlawful for a person in the United States or subject to the jurisdiction of the United States to knowingly provide material support or resources to the designated terrorist organization. Representatives and members of the designated foreign organization, if they are aliens or inadmissible to, and in certain circumstances removable from the United States, so they can be kicked out. The Secretary of Treasury may require U.S. financial institutions possessing or controlling any assets of designated terrorist organization to block transactions involving those assets. Support for the U.S. effort to curb terrorism financing and to encourage others to do the same. Stigmatizes them as a terrorist organization. Deter donations, contributions, and economic transactions to the named organizations. Heightens public awareness and signals to the other U.S. governments, U.S. concerned about the named organizations. So, I think the biggest thing about this, besides obviously, I guess, heightening the knowledge and public awareness of that they may be a criminal organization, which, I mean, if you live in that area anyway, you know it. But the biggest thing is that they can stop the financial transactions. It is a big deal to be able to go into, or to say to Visa or MasterCard or anybody like this and be like, you can't take any funds from them. You can go to the Central Bank of Mexico and be like, you can't take these if it's going to be coming to the United States or anything like that. You can block foreign transactions, things like that, and all of a sudden you can start prosecuting these any officials in the United States, or at least investigating them and saying, hey, you took money from a place we saw in Mexico who is doing transaction with them, and now you can start going into those and prosecuting people who do that kind of thing. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, is they're trying to block a lot of the money flowing, because obviously that's the lifeline of these organizations, not only the drugs but the money. A lot of money laundering is big business with them. So we'll see what ends up happening with this. I just wanted to make a video to make, I guess, bring up awareness to what's going on. Obviously, I made the video a few weeks back about the tragedy that happened with the Mormons in Mexico, and I'm going to try and follow up with that and see what happened. But tell me what you guys think. If you're in Mexico, or if you're on the border, or if you have just interest in this in general, what do you think of what's going to happen? I had somebody link me a good article or a website with a form that had good information on this, and I'm going to follow up on that as well. But we'll see where this goes. Again, it's another step in helping. I don't know what the position of the average Mexican in Mexico thinks about this, but I think this is a good step in trying to help them. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. So I mean, you can say a lot of bad things about what's gonna end up happening if the cartels start reacting to this kind of stuff. But it's like a Band-Aid. You're gonna have to rip it off. It's gonna hurt like a motherfucker to get this done. But cutting off their money supplies, closing off the border, shutting down foreign transactions, and cracking down on them in general, it's all just part of it. So like I said, I'd just like to see what the average Mexican thinks about this, And I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys will subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.